LRBT2 main conclusion, question 26. So we've got a surrealist who's making an argument. They say many artists mistakenly think that models need to be taken only from outside the psyche. If we think about that, or is that a fact? Is this arguable? Well, mistakenly think this is an arguable statement. And we're like, okay, we're gonna have to think about, is this something that the author is taking and using to establish their argument? Or is that the thing they're trying to support? We're going to want to think about that. Whenever we see a qualifying statement, that's going to clue us into what the author thinks. And whatever the author thinks is going to be closely aligned to what they're trying to say. Okay. So they think it's a mistake. Models need to be taken only from outside the psyche. That's false. Although human sensibility can confer beauty on even the most vulgar external objects. So they're saying human sensibility, I don't know what that means, can confer beauty. I think that means to see beauty in even vulgar external objects that could be grotesque, or it could also be, I don't know if they're referring to grotesque and like disgusting, or if they're referring to just common objects. Doesn't really matter. We're not going to think about it too hard. So even though gross objects or common objects could be beautiful from whoever the individual human is, using the power of artistic representation solely to preserve and reinforce objects that would exist, that would exist even without artists. So they're saying, being like artistic representation, maybe painting. If you paint to preserve and reinforce objects that would exist even without artists, so preserving, I don't know, rocks. You're going to paint a picture of a rock, perhaps. That's an ironic waste. Okay, so what if I like painting pictures of rocks though? Um, they're talking about human sensibility, like finding different things beautiful, even if they're just random objects, ugly objects or common objects. It's a waste to paint rocks, paint a painting of a rock, because it's going to exist even without artists. Like, um, they're saying, like, I don't really, honestly, I have no idea how this relates to anything else. I'm going to be quite honest with you. Why does it matter what we're painting and whatnot? The surrealist has given us this idea that like we can look at things in a beautiful way, but doesn't mean you need to go paint them. It's kind of a waste of your it's a waste of, I don't know, of something, maybe of your time. um and then they're saying models need to be taken only from outside the psyche. How does that relate to the rest of our paragraph? So when we take models only from outside the psyche, and remember our surrealists think that's a mistake, so that's, outside the psyche, we're not thinking about it, we're painting a rock. Our surrealist doesn't like painting rocks. I think it's a waste. So if you look at an object, something that's not inside your psyche, if you're painting that object, you're wasting your time. Therefore, our surrealists think that, a lot of people are making a mistake when they only look at stuff outside their mind. So our surrealist is probably gonna be like, yeah, man, trip out and paint something that's in your head. It's good too. It's not just the stuff that you see around you that needs to be captured. So we're really trying to support this idea that many artists are mistaken. Because here's why. It's because they're mistaken because it's a waste to paint rocks, right? So let's look and see what we can get. A, an artist's work should not merely represent objects from outside the psyche. That looks nice. It's like, okay, an artist's work should not just be about rocks or the things that you can see. We'll keep it. B, artistic representation is used solely to preserve and reinforce objects. Solely is going to be a very strong word here. It's just a tad too strong. And we know artistic representation, when it's being used in that way, our surrealist says it's a waste. But they don't say that that's the only way that we use it. So we want to be very, very careful about what they're actually saying in the passage. C, artists should not base all their work on mere representation. Well, maybe they're representing something that is not an external object. Maybe they're representing something that's coming from inside their psyche, right? Should not base all their work. Well, what about some? Our surrealists would probably say that even if you only paint one picture of a rock, and the rest of the things that you paint are in your head, the thing that you did is a waste. We just don't have enough information. We're not talking about all of somebody's work. C, great art can confer beauty even upon very vulgar external objects. So that's a fact that's coming right from the passage. So since it's a fact, it's not our conclusion. It's just something that our author is using to I support this claim that artists are sometimes mistaken. E, true works of art rarely represent objects from outside the psyche. We don't talk about what true works of art are. So A is going to be the best answer. And so I will note whenever we have these shorter stimuli, they're going to actually be a little bit harder because they're going to make it harder to really break through what each sentence means and the meaning of the sentences together. So what that means is that sometimes it's going to look like something that's a little bit like, this is a weird way of phrasing it. Might just be the right answer. We're going to go through the rest of our answer choices and think, okay, do they actually talk about that? Is this like the thing that they actually say? So if it looks weird, don't eliminate it. Keep going on through your answer choices. See what's too strong or just simply not supported or really outrageous. Mark it out, and you'll be left with an answer that when you think about it again and deconstruct it, like, okay, that makes enough sense. That's exactly like a restatement of what they're saying up in the weird condensed passage. For this reason, we'll take A as our best answer choice and move on to the next question.